Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities and Miniatures. It is time once more to bring that weekly dose to you of my own personal collection of obscurities in literature. And I was having a conversation with my students the other day, and they were complaining about some of the games that they enjoyed playing and how they all have gone out of service, and they were discussing, the olden days of when you actually purchased a game and you got to play it for as long as you want. And that got me thinking about some of the various dead and gone games that I've enjoyed in the past. And I thought, what a perfect segue into busting out my War of the Visions books. So, yeah, Visions is in multiple because I have both of them here. I was a huge fan of Final Fantasy Tactics when it originally debuted. And I'd played it almost immediately after Ogre Battle and Tactics Ogre had both come out. I remember renting Ogre Battle on the Super Nintendo from the local game shop. Sorry, not game shop, video store. Picked up Tactics Ogre once it released on the PlayStation and played the hell out of it with its atrocious load times. And by the time we got to Final Fantasy Tactics, I was absolutely enthralled, played all of the various installments of them, even this game. And I'd say one of the main big reasons I really enjoyed it was Akihiko Yoshida's artwork for those games. It was phenomenal, it still is. It's very unique, and just, it wasn't a style that we often saw. It was like very anime and manga-esque, yet at the same time didn't really play to a lot of the strengths in how they detailed the characters. And the costume, was just fabulous. The designs of a lot of the characters was just really, really neat. And so when word got out that Square was going to be putting out a mobile gacha game based around that, I was met with apprehension, cautiously optimistic. And I really did try, and I enjoyed the game for what it was for a fair amount of time, but it just wasn't my style of grind. I'm not a big fan. I especially have better things to do with my time, and promptly pretty much just ditched the game and never really looked back, except for the artwork. And these books, now that we don't have the War of the Visions game anymore available to us in the United States, a great source of that artwork. And the designs themselves were just really neat. I always kind of equated it in my brain with games like Terra Battle, in that you had a really distinct, unique style to the characters. And I do appreciate the fact that for most of the main cast, we actually have a nice breakdown of how everything looks. Oftentimes with this game, there would be just great designs in terms of colors and style, and really busy, lots of interesting details, but then when you saw the 3D model, it just left a little something to be desired sometimes. Not every character, mind you, but some. I just love how ridiculous some of the characters' costuming is. So you can see just that real thick, deep cross-hatching line work was a Final Fantasy Tactics calling card. Of course, you have to have the random swimsuit characters. It is a gacha game after all. But I thought it was kind of always neat how even the more dressed characters tended to have just a lot of stuff going on, which I really enjoyed. It also kind of bummed me out because I don't think you had any significant change in character designs when you changed class, because to me that was always the exciting part of it. Very colorful, a lot of fun. And even some of the lamer characters didn't have the most personality in the game, ended up still getting some of the design work. I always hoped Dorando had something better to show what was going on under that mask of his, but sadly that's not the case. And Gargus There were some weird characters. But, you know, I kind of expect that for a Final Fantasy game. Gilgamesh was a weird one. I still don't understand why he had those big giant wings on him. I never was able to use them really effectively in the game either. Pretty sure I had an Evolue. She looks familiar. Characters with big, ridiculous guns. Lots of guns in this game, actually. A lot of ranged characters. Of course, a lot of the close combat characters were also able to go ranged with various attacks. One of the kind of fun things was you had a lot of crossovers, being a Final Fantasy game. It wouldn't be appropriate if you didn't have characters from other ones show up. Most of the Brave Explorers characters, or sorry, not Brave Explorers, Brave Exvius. And a lot of the stalwart main cast. Kain, Ramza, of course. Gefgarion. And what's interesting to me is I'm not 100% sure who did the sketch work here. If this is Yoshida's stuff or if this is just a reinterpretation of the original drawings that he did. I do like the 14 cast in that style of art. And then in the back of the book, we have the vision cards, which were a big thing in the game. It is a Final Fantasy mobile game after all. But we don't have much on the way of who drew them, sadly. The other big disappointment is we don't see much in the way of enemy designs in this book. I think that's kind of a big miss for me. That was one thing, at least with the Fire Emblem Giant Encyclopedia phone books. They do have a lot of the enemy designs, but they don't have the sprite work for the dragons, which I thought was really kind of lame. That's the one thing I don't like about those books. But again, got a lot of the usual update banner things in here. Some of these characters I remember, some of them no idea anymore. It's been a while and it's not like I can really play the game necessarily anymore. Anyways. I always like the fact that at least I didn't have to be too embarrassed with some of the over-the-top ladies in the game. I don't like, at least if I'm in public and I'm playing a game, why I'm in public playing games, I don't know, but this is all hypothetical anyway. I'm not a big fan of really questionably drawn designs. I mean, they all have their place in the gaming hierarchy, and those that are interested. And I'm not saying some of them don't look cool, but like Nikke and Destiny Child immediately come to mind with Hinte Kim's art. Pretty sure it was him. Again, I just loved like the layers of stuff for a lot of these costumes. Some of these characters I remember looking at the games and thinking, how the hell do they wear these? So this is kind of cool to see. There's some actual thought put into these designs. Maybe not so much the weapons for as ridiculous as some of them are. I'm sure if I go online trying to search for characters, then I will get really bummed out that they're not in these books. I do appreciate the fact that we also get a lot of the various costume skins as well. Like, Charlotte sounds really familiar. I don't remember her and Dwayne. Elena I kind of remember from Brave Exvius. I played a lot of Exvius. Dude who looks somewhat familiar. Like I said, a lot of fun stuff to be had. Since the game is now defunct, I want to say that these also came out in English. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that, but I have a feeling Square is usually pretty good about their big flagship game art books coming out through their stores. A lot of the times, I wasn't a big fan, though, of the American or at least English pressings due to the fact that the binding was often really kind of crummy and crappy. I've got all of the Exvius art books that actually got released, at least in the US, and all of them I am just like counting down the days until they eventually crack and the pages start to fall out. Whereas the Japanese editions like these were all soft cover, nicely bound, and I don't seem to have those issues with the Japanese books. Then again, I'm not cracking them all the way across the cover to see, you know, every little detail on those pages, so that might be part of it as well. I don't know. But like I said, now that the game's gone, you probably could pick these up for a reasonable price. I don't think they had any kind of special codes in it. I know with like the Grand Blue books, those mammoth monsters, you know, oftentimes they'll have redemption codes since the game is going to seemingly live forever. Not so much with these, but, you know, if you don't really worry about that, like I said, do some good hunting, you'll probably get yourself a good deal. And, hey, who doesn't enjoy a good deal on a nice art book, right? So, yeah, with that said, then, this has been High Lord Tamberlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching, and we will see you back here soon. Bye-bye!